Hello.
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 How are we?
I'm good. How are you?
I am very good. Very tired for no good reason though. But
So one of those days where doing absolutely shit all makes you dead tired.
yeah, I am tired of fuck all at this point. Gotta say,
I
D&D was great crack last night.
hmm
I've never. It took me a while to get into it because I've never played anything like that before. But
I
yeah,
do tend to come I do tend to come hard at it. I'm quite experienced, so I'm like quite comfortable in just like slipping into a voice or whatever and going off.
I think that made it better. To be honest, I enjoyed that. Like I think that like you could tell you have played before if you know what I mean, like in a good way. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to to playing it more.
Yeah, and I think like we'll warm up to it and we'll start enjoying ourselves.
How's things for yourself then? Keep well.
Yes, I was just like I ended up being a little bit late. I can see that you are live, by the way. It's showing up on my Twitch.
Sweet.
Um, yep. Yeah. No, I am good. I was just doing a Destiny 2 raid, and we ended up running way longer than I expected. So
No, it's no worries. We
apologies
we
for the delay.
are ridiculously free.
This is still not the herd. Sorry for the super delayed intro there. Zach, did I overhear you saying we are live indeed?
We are live. Yeah, I can see you on Twitch.
Hot tamale. We are here with the New York Giants head coach, Yak Yackle Yak, and my god, if he hasn't lost a game. He's lost as many games this year as Daniel and I, and we don't play anymore. That's mad.
Yes, it feels good to be a gangster. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've played every team in the NFC East twice now. In one of what
Yeah.
I've got to say is one of the most peculiar schedules that I've ever seen. I think it's
It's been
funny because it
an odd one.
coincides
Yeah.
with Adam not playing a single divisional game.
Yeah, it's sort of the two of them together lend an air of absurdity to it all. Where like yeah, Giants are 6-0 in division, and the Saints are 0-0 in division. I mean, I sort of like it though. I mean, it would never happen in real life, but it's something that's unique to Madden, let's say.
Well, I have a graphic to put in the group chat just for you because you
Oh,
you were the one that said this in week one. Um, so I just want to bring it up because people no people love being right. If you were wrong, I wouldn't laud it over you, but you're currently right. You were the one that said, would it be possible for us to have every single user team in the playoffs? If the postseason started today, we would all just be in.
yeah, nice. The Dallas Cowboys are there.
Cowboys have just snuck in, and Stoops is in ahead of the Rams, courtesy of divisional record. They are yet to play each other twice.
That was my hot take. I mean, I feel like it shouldn't really be a hot take,
Right?
um, but, like I guess nothing is guaranteed. I mean, it is 8 teams, and some of those teams are guaranteed to be wild card at best because they are in two-team divisions.
Yeah, with the two teams in the NFC East and the two teams in the AFC West, one of them is, or sorry, two of the four are not going to win divisions. That's just how it is. So
Yeah,
if you do miss out with 8 teams, that's fine. Like we've had teams miss out before, but with leagues where there's like 3 or 4 players in it, and that's not great because you could all technically win a division, or you could all be certainly in the top 6 seeds. But
yeah. I mean, look at the NFC North, AFC North, AFC North. Like they sent 3 teams this year, right? It was Steelers, Browns, and Ravens.
and they're poised to in the CFM. That will likely not last in the CFM, to be fair. But yeah, they sent 3 in real life. It can happen. But there is I think it's a hot enough take that all 8 teams go, especially when was it three missed out last year.
Yeah, I suppose it was for me. Like I expected that I expected that Stoops's miss was an anomaly. Again, I'd not been in the league before, so I didn't know that Stoops was notorious for having a bang-on 500 record.
It's funny,
and,
he's never had a 500 record, but we've made this up like it happens.
But he just flirts with it like a motherfucker, though.
I know,
Yeah.
it's just like he wants to be Jeff Fisher so bad, but he just can't bring himself to because I was last season's Jeff Fisher at 8-8. But yeah, like I knew that I was confident that I was going to make it based on the changes I'd made since the end of the previous season, and I knew as well from being online regularly playing Madden that Nick was also online regularly playing Madden.
I can second that. I've seen that. That is truth.
Yeah, and so I'm like, if he's doing what I'm doing, then I've got to assume that he also is going to be making big strides. So it didn't feel like such a hot ticket whenever I said it.
Well, Nick's 7-2 with one CPU loss, so he's hot as well. I mean, you're both. I mean, what you're doing is otherworldly right now, but the fact that Nick has over doubled his win total from last year with 6 or 7 games to play is madness.
Yeah.
But I like it. We were talking about this. I was speaking with an unnamed CFM coach and Daniel the other day about this. We like that when we brought Stoops in, Stoops won 10.5 games in his first year. And the slow burners in the NFC, James Earls and Niall, who didn't win their divisions the year before, were like, okay, well, we can get into the playoffs as wild cards. That's fine. We'll win 10, 11 games. Suddenly had Stoops like, oh, Christ, we can't all get in. And the infusion of James Cameron, Nick, and yourself has been another. Even John and Adam have both mentioned it. 2 experienced guys who have been there, won bowls, are like, it's a real kick up the arse because playoff spots are going. To the extent where Adam is not guaranteed the 1 seed, which is sort of his pride and joy in the NFC, above maybe more than winning a Super Bowl. He goes 15-1 and he gets the 1 seed. But it has been a real kick up there. So the 1 seed, by the way, in the AFC, for anybody not keeping track of that, is James Cameron at 8-1. He's half a win better off than John. So the new school spelled
better off than Nick.
SKOOL is here for real. Like, I mean, you're all in your second year, sophomore coaches, and what are you, combined 24-3? That's nuts.
It has been a bit of a mad season. I know that you mentioned last week that some of the AI performances have been a touch suspect, and that like AI records have been a bit wank. But I mean, in the end, you can still, I'm confident that I would not be 9-0 if I had the schedule last year, even if the AI was poor. Like, in the end, it's about what you do to make your own improvements, and then you play the teams in front of you and do what you can. And we're all doing more than expected, I would say. I was confident when I played Nick in the preseason. If you ever go back and listen to that, watch that game back, because I play Nick every preseason. He was saying to me, "What's your goal?" And I said, "I want to make the playoffs." And Nick, and I'd said, "Is your goal to make 500?" He says, "No, my goal is to make the playoffs too." So we both had that ambition, and as it stands, we're going for our season goal. If I go any further, like you said last week, I'll be thrilled. Like, if I go out there and make the title game or whatever, then it's all gravy. But really, making the playoffs was my goal for this season, and anything beyond that, I'm sure the management will be thrilled.
I'd imagine so. Not to put it all down to one thing, because I literally have a segment coming up that's going to show that the reason you're doing so well is literally because of multiple things. And I wouldn't want to undercut my own segment, but Justin Herbert's played a really big part in the turnaround. He's noticeably better. No one's going to contest this. He's noticeably better than Teddy Bridgewater was last year in the same system. Well, the system, of course, is tweaked a little bit as well, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose it's the same playbook, but it's it's not exactly the same playbook. It was like last year. When they say in the NFL, sometimes new quarterbacks get the training wheels, and you sort of cut down your playbook to like a dummy's introduction to the NFL, and you let them work with plays that they were cool with, and then you sort of open the playbook to them. Well, I think that's fair to say that that's what I was doing. Like last year, my only real passing routes were like curl flats because I could read what was going on with curls. But if I had to do anything else, it was a total crapshoot. Like I just sort of be like, right, okay, I guess I have to throw a passing route. So it's not. It doesn't even feel like it's the same playbook. Like, but again, I know that we have adjusted the sliders a little bit, so Justin Herbert has benefited from like a plus 5% bump in accuracy or whatever. But there's been very few passes this year where Justin Herbert has made the read and then sailed it.
Yeah, like an errant throw.
Yeah, there's been very few errant throws, and I mean he's looked unbelievable. Like last year, I was talking with Niall about getting the trade, and you know.
Oh, that's where Herbert came from. We never talk about that.
No, never do.
No.
I was talking about it because I remember there was conversation about him maybe trading, and I was like, well, I am in need of a QB. And then I think Adam was sort of sniffing around, and I was like, no.
I can confirm that he absolutely was.
And
Zach, not wanting to be the Ryan Pace of this conversation, jumped straight in.
To give some behind the scenes, negotiations. I should probably say this for my tell-all book later, but some some behind the scenes. The original trade was actually a 5th round pick and right guard Kevin Zeitler, but Kevin Zeitler wouldn't resign. And so I didn't realize that I could tag him because I wasn't really sure how that worked in CFM.
It's complicated.
Yeah. So I didn't realize I could tag him. So it could have worked that way, but in the end, it just ended up being a flat 3rd round pick, which, to be honest, right now, I would have been happy to give away my first. That's the type of player that you don't draft in the 3rd round. Superstar. He's a superstar. Overall is fantastic, and some of his stats that I just love. 97 throw power. Man's got like a cannon, and so I know that when I throw a bullet pass into a short window,
it's gonna get there.
It's getting there, and I don't need to worry so much about it being I can be a bit braver with the throws and not have to worry about a linebacker coming across and lurking it because Herbert's going to put it there yesterday. And so it's, dude, he's so good. I don't have enough praise for Justin Herbert. I know he, he's something like 3rd or 4th on the passing yards list, but he is number 1 passing TDs. Or he might be. Watson's probably catching up at this point, but.
I haven't suggested my Pro Bowl selections yet, and I'm weighing up whether or not to actually vote for Justin Herbert, as there is a solid chance that he'll be busy the weekend after the Pro Bowl. I'll probably give him a vote though anyway. One thing I am throwing into the group now, just to talk about quickly, is I'm going to do the All Pro team, because we always do the Pro Bowl team. And the Pro Bowl team can be voted on, we complained about this in the group in real life a couple of weeks ago. The Pro Bowl can be voted on by random people like James Cameron, and that can skew the vote because these people know nothing. So the All Pro team, this is people that have, the little number in brackets for anybody wondering is the number of times they've made Team of the Week for the podcast. So surely if you make the podcast Team of the Week 15, 16 times out of 16, you're a pretty good player. You're the only team that I can see that has guys at multiple positions that have multiple appearances there.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually the Broncos have ETN and Fred Warner, but Justin Herbert and Saquon Barkley are nuts.
Well, it seems like only 3 people have voted, and that means that Herbert and Barkley are thus far unanimous, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, there's Barkley, love. Devin Funchess. Shout out to Devin Funchess for getting some mad love as a CPU receiver. But I figured that unless Houston are playing in the Super Bowl, they're going to have all the receivers in there. There's a couple of guys on here, by the way, that only have 1 vote, and I didn't tend to mention too many of the ones that only had 1 vote in the category. What I will say is that the Raiders receiving core have basically all got a vote at some point this year, even Hunter Renfrow. So that just speaks wonders to the work that Nick's doing over there.
Indeed.
So one thing I do want to focus on is the NFC East, and you're probably thinking we've talked this to death. It's probably the Giants for the taking. You probably won't admit there that it's done, but I'm not brave enough to say that James Earls is sheltered anymore. What I want to talk about though is something we haven't actually talked about yet, and that's James Earls' last 3 fixtures against CPU teams. There is one he played recently against against a player, and I'll mention that too because it does give him some redemption. James Earls, his last 3 games against CPU teams are a 20-6 win at Washington, a 20-3 win at Green Bay, and a 12-7 win against Detroit. Now, at no point does he score 3 touchdowns in any of those games, and he's holding CPU offenses to about 7. But I mean, anybody and everybody has done that at some point now. I get worried that he's going to go into the postseason and get annihilated in the wild card because, I mean, those kind of numbers do not equate to beating player teams. That said, he ran Adam to within 4 points. He beat Niall by 10. The first time he played you was a bit of a whitewash. I'm going to give him the same Bible we gave you at the start of the last season in week 1. But the most recent one, it was an 11-point game. It maybe felt a little bit closer, but his defense could not get a stop, and that's my point. The week before he played you, he held Green Bay to 3, and the week after you, he held Washington to 6. At some point, he has to figure out defense. Coming out and holding CPU teams to 2 points each week doesn't matter if the next time he plays the Giants in wildcard weekend or divisional weekend, whatever, he's going to get beat by another 14, 17 points.
It's you basically, and I understand that there's like a few people, especially who have been playing for a long time, like James. I know this is only his second season back, but he's played a lot of CFM leagues in his time, and in order to become like good enough to do that, he will have had to have put plenty of hours into Madden. And so I understand that sometimes when if you want to improve, you've actually got to put some hours in. Like that's what I have had to do, and I understand that sometimes, like, you could be fucked, playing a full offline franchise mode. Like Dan said a couple of weeks ago, who the fuck plays single player franchises? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's boring. It is, because you just win all the time, and like all your cheese plays work. Like I played I have an offense only and a defense only offline franchise, and in my offense only franchise, Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 80 touchdowns. Darius Slayton caught 28, and fucking Antonio Callaway caught 26. Like, you know what I mean?
So pretty standard numbers for anybody coming out of Alabama. Thank you for the winnings.
But like in the defensive one, it's like not nearly, playing offense is fun. You get to dot your opponent up, and that's fantastic. But the defense only one, and like sitting and giving your defense that TLC that it needs, it's boring.
I mean, even when it works, it's boring. Yeah, I'll give you that.
It's boring and it's tedious. But like, I know that I have spent time trying to work out how to sort of change up my defense, and like against James, he did score plenty of points, but he was also under pressure a lot. Took quite a few sacks from trying to hold like longer routes and stuff like that, and that was because I'd spent some time being like, how can I pressure a player QB? And so I think like if I'm James, it's sort of hard because you can only really practice against the CPU, which he clearly is smashing. But is it just that the CPU is gash against cover 2? Because if you look at his like percentages in his defensive playbook, I bet cover 2 is like 60 plus.
I mean, that's my point, and I'm so glad that you brought it up. See, if you play against I actually I did a weird explanation of this in the group a couple of months back. If you play cover 2 zone or cover 3, I don't want to make Daniel come out in a rash here. Cover 3 sky or cover 3 cloud or cover 3 buzz or cover 3 fucking
whatever
dandelion. Yeah, you're going to get stops against the CPU regularly enough.
Yeah.
But if you just play cover 3 sky because sky sounds like cool, and cover 2 zone because it covers the whole field in big colourful bubbles, you're gonna get gashed against player teams. One person, and I wanted to point this out, Nick's defense was actually pretty good last year, so I'm not going to give him a huge ton of credit for changing things this year, but the Giants and the Broncos have both tweaked things on defense. I don't want to get into too much of it in detail unless you want to, but you're creating pressure in creative ways. Like you said, even though James put 27 points on you, it wasn't too close because you're getting stops at the right time. Even when he is moving the ball, he's under pressure, but he's doing so every play feels like 3rd and 13, just pick that up. Oh Christ, I'll not do that again.
The nicest way I can put it is Madden 18.
Yes.
I did that offline Bears franchise.
You did. Oh yes, you did.
I
Good
took
point.
A 56 overall QB, Joe Callahan. Shout out to my boy Joe out of Wesley College, won the D3 Heisman. Him,
Which is like the Heisman, but it didn't win all of us money.
Michael Burton at fullback, and I think who's the running back? Is it Todd Gurley at running back?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was. Oh God, I should know this. Oh, why can I not get this? I can picture him. Was he not number 39 in your team? Why can I not get this? Doesn't matter. Anyway, a running back. Was it Ryan? It wasn't Ryan Knoll by any chance, was it?
No, I traded for a running back. I think it was Todd Gurley.
Okay.
It was either Todd Gurley. No, it was Melvin Gordon.
Gordon, that was it. Yeah.
It was Melvin Gordon. So I had Melvin Gordon at running back, Michael Burton at fullback. My receivers were just 70 overall speed guys. I only called about 4 plays all season. I called halfback power, halfback blast, halfback dive, PA max protect, and I ran nothing but cover 3 match on defense with the sliders that we don't use now but used last year.
Yeah.
And won a Super Bowl, went 16-0. And from that point, I was just a podcaster. I was bored as fuck.
That's it. I mean, like, you know, it's. I mean, I like cover 3. Like my defense, my defense, you know, sort of. And like I've streamed enough of my games that I'm not like incredibly cagey about what I'm trying to do. It's primarily a zonal blitz defense.
Yeah.
You know, puts a lot of pressure in whilst keeping decent cover on the field, and has options for blitzes all over the place, and it has options for man coverage as well. I'm a big fan of an all-out blitz. You know, it has those sorts of options. It's a high pressure defense, but like. You know, I still run that against the computer because I know that I will want to run it against players, and it's good enough. Like, I can beat the computer whilst also trying things out.
Again, you know. That's the best way to do it because James Cameron's doing exactly the same thing. Everybody criticized him for his overtime win against Cleveland, where he blew like a 21-point lead and had to rescue it with an overtime kick.
Practically on purpose.
Yeah,
well.
But he went out in the offseason and he acquired Fred Warner, and that everybody was like, oh, that's really funny because he's called Mr. Fingers. He's changed Denver's defense completely. He allows James to have a super athletic guy that can patrol the middle of the field, not unlike John. And I mean, the reason that James didn't win the Super Bowl last year was because John picked him with a linebacker with 5 seconds to go. You don't think that motivated that trade?
Is it because John picked him with a linebacker, or is it because he threw that fucking slant?
It's both, but you can't tell me that is not part of the reason why he didn't acquire a linebacker first and foremost in free agency.
I mean, to be fair, if you think about it, like if you watch John and you watch Adam, you know that a lot of their defensive stuff, because that's how you're going to get better, right? That's how I got better. I watched both of those guys play and was like, how is Adam choosing plays from Ask Madden and rinsing teams? And when I pick plays from Ask Madden, it's rubbish. But, like, you know, I mean, so you watch those guys because those are the best guys in the league. And so I'm like, okay, well, Adam almost exclusively controls Adam Anzalone, or Alex Anzalone, or whatever the fuck he's called. And John likes to sort of flip between a linebacker and a safety.
Oh, he loves to bring his free safety down and play as like a second or third linebacker.
Yeah, and so I'm like, all right, okay, well, you know, it looks like patrolling the middle of the field is something you want to do. So, you know, I drafted a middle linebacker in the first round because I was like, well, I want a guy to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and that's like James Earl's big thing this year is that he, you know, at the beginning of the year was like, my usering is bad on defense. But now, when I watch him, his usering is really tuned up. And, you know, you can't just go after whoever he's using because it's a free pass.
Oh yeah, in previous years it was fine who he's playing as, and that is the weakness. Go after them. It's better than that now.
Yeah, no, like so that's the thing. Like drafting a middle linebacker or trading for a middle linebacker was on my list of priorities as well. And I think that it's probably the key position on defense for CFM. That's my opinion.
When you think about it, everybody seems to have, apart from John, who likes, I mean, he's got some backers, but he plays the free. Everybody else has that guy that, like you said, Anzalone. Daniel, help me out here. Fred Warner. Niall likes Roquan Smith. Chicago. Paddy Fisher.
John Ross. I can't remember what his name is. But yes, like that's my guy. He got the pick 6 against James. He got a pick 6 last year against Adam.
Yeah.
Like, he's the guy I like to control. And
Stoops has a couple of guys. Tanner Vallejo seems to be the one he's using it most at the moment. But it is true. Like you said, you watched a lot of Adam and John from last year. Offense happens. These guys, they go and sign really high-profile dudes, and they know their offense. Defense needs work. Even those guys work on defense. John's like a surgeon.
Yeah, offense is like a ride, and defense is like a marriage. You know what I mean? Like,
100%. Everybody wants to ride.
Yeah, everyone wants to ride, but your marriage, man, you have to like look after it, and you have to like take time. You have to be like, oh, me and the defense are going to go out for an hour's date practice tonight, and you're like, awesome, that's fun. Or you have to be like, oh, I'm going to go, if I don't go out and do an hour's worth of chores with my defense, then my defense is going to be pissed. You know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah. There you go. That's my analogy for the day.
What Zach is saying is you need to work on the defense, and for the offense, just get a 21-year-old out of university, and you're fucking sweet. Basically.
Well, I mean, like, exactly.
You're not wrong.
Jalen Gill this year, and he's an absolute ride.
See, but that's perfect because you didn't have to put any work in with him as such.
Nobody throw to their ex. That's what we're trying to say. Save yourselves.
Jalen Gill in the 6th round with a flyer and was like, oh, this guy's pretty sweet.
Dirty wee slot.
Yeah, he's a super athlete, but guys like Leonard Williams, no one talks about Leonard Williams in the chat, but he's really important to what Zach wants to do. Jabril Peppers.
These guys aren't into Good Morning Football and they've got a big stiffy for some sort of inside run stuffer. Like,
Quinn N. Williams of the Jets. I'm so sad for him.
Kyle Brandt dripping at the chin over Lawrence Guy. It just doesn't happen. But
you have to be incredibly exceptional. Like, the only, when you talk about players, even in the NFL, that are like primarily, sort of inside or outside pressure guys, like there's Aaron Donald, and then there's a massive, massive, massive gap, and then there's some other guys. Like, everyone's, absolutely rightly, honking on Aaron Donald's hog because he's an absolute monster. But like, which other like interior linemen are they talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sums it up perfectly. There's one D tackle in the whole league that gets any credit. There's 2 receivers in Atlanta that people give credit to. And it's that sort of... And it does, when you look at the teams that win often in this league but don't win in the playoffs, and there are a few of them, you look at the fringe teams, not trying to insult anybody, but you've got Nick is a fringe team. You got Stoops is a fringe team. James Earl is a fringe team, and I don't think it's unfair to call the Bears a fringe team.
Well, someone has to win the NFC North.
Yeah. You look at the defenses of those teams compared to the defenses of like an Adam or a John or a Zach or even a James Cameron. There is that little bit extra put in. I don't worry about playing James Earl's defense or playing Stoops' defense. I do worry about playing Zach or Adam's defense.
Yes.
I traded for a second D tackle. Like I have Dalvin Tomlinson, who is a big, massive bastard and creates a lot of pressure for Leonard Williams and for Carter for Lorenzo Carter from off the right side. But I traded for David Onyemata. I traded my backup. I had a lot of depth at right linebacker, and so I traded for David Onyemata. He's probably not going to play a lot this year, but he's going to come on and be fresh and be great when I need him to be. When Dalvin Tomlinson is tired,
I'm pretty sure David Onyemata, is he not a CFM Bowl winner with Adam in a previous life. So there's
he is, yeah.
a bit of leadership there as well.
And again, it's the whole thing of football over Madden sometimes, of like knowing that you wouldn't have Aaron Donald without Michael Brockers.
Yes. Yeah.
That second DT for certain sets can be just as important.
Well, how many guys have gone out in free agency in the draft and tried to boost their defense? When you look at the 8 teams,
Matt Rule.
So Ian, it sounds like you've been winding up for a segment for a hot minute, and we've just been talking about
I'm Boston, but I don't like stopping you guys in flow.
No, please. I love segments.
This is a really mini segment. I'm about to get into the 3-word game, but first things first, I'm going to put them in the group, and for those who can't listen to them right now, I will describe them. So everybody's getting a wrestling song. Discuss this with Dan during the week. So it's not, just to clarify, it's not to discuss the wrestler is not the comparison. It's just the song and the words of the song. So I'll go from left to right on my screen here. So I got Adam up first. Adam's song is "The Game" by Drowning Pool. That's Triple H's. Was it Dial unused? What did I say? Did I say Drowning Pool? I hope so.
Yeah, it is. No, you're right.
Oh,
it is by Drowning Pool. I just didn't realize it was by Drowning Pool.
Oh, it's really good. It's like an unused Triple H thing. The Saints we've had 7 CFM Bowls, and the Saints have been in every single one, and Adam has been their head coach for 6 of those. I know John's the reigning champ, but Adam is you've still got to get past him. He checks your pedigree, as it were. You still have to get past him before you can call yourself a top player. Niall's theme is Stone Cold Steve Austin's "I Won't Do What You Tell Me." The guy literally has a gif for whenever I suggest anything to him. They are trying desperately to get their offense back. It will click at some point. 40 points, a 40 burger on the San Francisco 49ers is a long way towards that.
What?
A 40 burger.
No.
Let's you know what? Do you remember that video? Leave Britney alone.
Yes.
I sometimes feel that about Niall. I just want to give him a big cuddle. You know, he's what I like about Niall is that he loves the league, and you know, I just don't want him to get too discouraged. Sometimes.
Can we have a what I like about section each week, where we pick a head coach and the player that's on has to tell us?
Can I just say, you're saying not to be mean to him. Out of the 3 of us, Zach, only one of us is going to eliminate him in divisional round weekend, and it's not Daniel,
exactly. But once I cut his head off in the divisional round, then I'll give him a big cuddle and be like, "That was a great game, mate. I love you." You know what I mean? And then
John will talk about that game more than you will. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's. But I love the guy, and I like the fact that he is in year 8 or whatever. You know,
year 8 now, yeah, fair play.
He's still passionate about the league and is interested in the way it plays, and loves to put his team together. And sure, you know, he has his uninspiring moments, but shit, I mean, haven't we all? So Niall, buddy, I've got your back.
When you're in the league for 8 years, you're bound to have down years. It happens.
I made Super Bowl last year.
Exactly. Where are we now? Denver Broncos, James Cameron. Definitely Bring the Swag by the Street Profits. Oh, he is just... I'm going to throw the font, and you don't like it, but I'm going to throw the font again, and we're going to run the outside zone to the left, and we're going to run the outside zone to the right. Don't tell him how to play.
We're picking a slant.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it means I'm going to blow up on conference weekend, just let him have his swag. Plus, he literally sells swag. Stoops, your theme is voices. For Randy Orton, because you definitely hear voices in your head when you play. I'm just not sure you should listen to them.
No, don't go past James Cameron yet.
Why?
The point I wanted to make about James Cameron,
okay,
is that thanks to their 0 each draw with Crystal Palace tonight, they are both still in the bottom half of the table.
Oh, that's so wholesome.
2 points behind Fat Frank, and Fat Frank has a game in hand. They're actually below West Ham, which...
Are they below? How are they around Leeds United?
Leeds are 1 point behind them with a game in hand.
Leeds have a game in hand over them. Teams that can overtake Arsenal with their game. Leeds can overtake them. West Ham can pull 5 clear.
Well clear.
Chelsea. Aston Villa are 2 points clear of Arsenal with 3 games in hand.
Super bad news for Arsenal as well, because Sheffield United got their first ever win this week, so they're hot in your tail.
Arsenal are only 19 clear of Sheffield United now.
So Stoops is definitely. I hear voices in my head. Like I said, you probably shouldn't listen to them all the time because it leads to some erratic plays. I really want to release a DVD of the CFM in years to come, and it's just the best of 2-minute warnings, and it's just a season review of Arizona.
Are they going to kneel? Are they going to throw a pick? Who knows? He doesn't.
They have knelt, but they are 10 points down, and I don't understand it. James Earls, here comes the money from Shane McMahon, because everybody's getting paid despite relatively minimal success. James Earls did not sign those contracts, by the way. They are just getting out of cap hell and into a bit of cap space, so we'll learn more about James as a GM over the next couple of years anyway. Zach, you're the Hardy Boys, loaded, because your offense is ridiculous. Like you say Jalen Gill, but you haven't mentioned Slayton or Shepard or any of your backs. Barkley seems to take a lot of credit off your other backs. I know he's your best back, but having a good room of backs is as important as having a top back, plus Herbert, plus the O-line, plus the defense. It's stacked all over the place. I don't think see, everybody thinks about an injury, week 13-14. I don't think an injury derails you. I really don't. Even if it's
the only one that I'm scared of is Justin Herbert. Because
even then, you'll still, it depends when it happens, you'll still beat CPU teams. Oakland, Nick, you Brock Lesnar, the next big thing. Oakland are not, I'm telling you now, Oakland are not going to win the Super Bowl this season. I will not rule it out next year. I'm just really curious to see how the AFC rebalances out. I know some teams might be on the move.
The Raiders, to me, feel a little bit like the Seahawks in real life.
How so?
They're good.
That's a criticism.
They're good. They will make the playoffs, but if not this year, how many years will their head coach be alive? Surely there is a worry there. P.S.
Nicholas is a young man.
Hit me up about that defensive call, either this week or next.
Yes, please do. Houston, John, Rikishi, and not as fun-loving too cool one. Nah, it's the bad man. Bad man Rikishi. SmackDown 2001. Your boy's a bad man. He is literally
too cool. Rikishi is the best.
Oh, too cool. Rikishi's the bomb. But this bad man faces the Raiders, the Giants, and the Cowboys. And okay, he's not going to do it to the Giants, but he's got a fair shot of ending the other two seasons and certainly putting a dent in the Giants season. He's in a take no prisoners mood. He did not take the Washington loss very well at all, and he's looking to go back to back, and he is focused.
Really enjoyed the cameo he got off the tie, though.
Yeah, that was sick, to be fair.
So before I do the 3-word game, and like I say, I'll try and get through some of the segments quickly. I had to point this out, right? Zach, Nick, and James Cameron are 24-3 as a threesome in year 2. 24-3.
What a gorgeous group of people as well.
Do you know what Ian, Adam, and Niall were in their sophomore year combined?
Tell me.
38-10. Which means that you all have 7 games left, and as long as you do better than 14-7 as a threesome, your second year as a 3 will be better than me, Adam, and Niall, which is some 3 in itself. And I don't see how you don't break that record. That's mad. It's going to be broken.
Who knew that this time last year, like, we brought in the rookie crop, and it was like, a bit of a laugh, we're having fun, and then, like, I think our combined, we were like 0-5 or something to
open the season. Yeah.
Before we got our first collective win, and then we started to pick up a few and what have you, and it was great. But like, who knew? 24-3 is absurd.
It's the fact that you between you've all got 7 games each. If you all go 5-2 in that stretch, you will eclipse what we managed in our second season. Out of the 3 of us as well, not to put a bad omen on the 3 of you, Adam reached the bowl, but none of the 3 of us won it in our second season. But it could happen. It can totally happen. So, 3-word games for this week. It's relatively quick because the Giants and the Texans didn't play a game. Saints beat Tampa Bay 44-0. The 3 words for that is buck in box, like get back in your box. We've been talking all season about how Tampa Bay could win that division, and they have scored as many points against Adam now as they had in the previous 10 weeks. Chicago beat San Francisco 42-14. No burger puns, please. It's back to Burton. This is not a criticism. Get back to Burton. But I haven't seen Burton be a feature of the offense since, like I said, you beat we talked about this in the chat the other day. You beat Buffalo 31-10, and I'm convinced that's better than your San Francisco game. I think it was unreal. You did everything right, start to finish, offense and defense, and Burton was a big part of that. Get back to him. Do not rely on him to get you through player games, but he's disappeared from your offense shockingly in the last couple of weeks. When he plays well, you play better. Denver beat Seattle 37-7. See you later, SEA. I think that's the Seahawks done now. They're like 1-9. They're crap. They play everybody really tough, despite the 37-7. Russell Wilson had a shot at being in Team of the Week. Thought he played really well. Hardly missed a pass. Hardly did anything wrong. James just kept the ball out of his hands for an hour and a half. Stoops beat Kansas City 21-10. Offense is reborn. Born, Bourne. Kendrick Bourne made an unbelievable play at a crucial point in the first half to extend the score. Stoops needed that game big.
It was. I believe it was 10-0 at one point.
Yes, he and Nick. I'm gonna get to Nick. He and Nick were both down by 2 scores at one point in the game. Big.
It was a ballsy performance. I watched that one, and I know that had a chat with Stoops this week about how he's feeling about the league and everything, and how he's enjoying the season. And to me, I just he went into that game being like, I'm going to lose this, and then when he was 10-0 down, was like, fuck it, may as well try and win it, and then just went and slapped them about like a child.
I just thought it was a top performance, and I have to mention it in the podcast because no one will forgive me if I don't. Kyler Murray using his legs was
legs
at the right time.
I genuinely forgot he owned legs. It has been a while.
But have you seen it, Daniel? He gets down to the 1 yard line. It's 1st and 10, and he's like, "Oh, maybe go with Drake."
By the way, 2 seconds. Ian's about to praise a quarterback rushing touchdown. Everybody, hold on to something. We ready?
He gets them in gun empty, and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna do the quarterback draw. This is super exciting for me. Stoops, we've been asking you to do this since you came into the league, and he popped it, and he wasn't touched, and he's like, oh, but if I fumble, I'll be really pissed. And I'm like, see, when you're at the 1 yard line and you're in empty, and they're clearly in like a dime defense, do
no
that
offense.
shit.
After watching the Cardinals for the last 3 years, I would not be worried about a turnover.
Jesus, he must have the worst luck with fumbles, man. Jesus Christ, dude,
he is one that whenever he fumbles, it goes for 7 generally.
It's not even that. I just watched every time I watch it. I don't know. Every time I watch it for expected fumbles per game, and it's something that Stoops has no control over. You know what I mean? He has absolutely no control over it. But XF in general in Stoops' games is has got to be at 1.3 or something, versus expected fumbles in anybody else's game to be 0.2. It's absurd. I have no idea how that keeps happening.
It is mad. He seems to have rallied, though, offensively, certainly, since if you don't count the Chargers game as a blip, if you take the Chargers game out from last week, he's 5-0 through his last 5. James Earls beat Washington 20-6. Anybody watched it? James Earls says in the chat it wasn't enjoyable. I don't know. I kind of got a kick out of it. My 3-word game for it is the no huddle, because it was the making and breaking of that game. You rushed to the line really early on, and you're doing some deep play action shots, and you caught them out, and they weren't in the right D, and your tight ends got free. But when you were getting towards near the end of the half, and you can see it when it goes into the personnel section, your offensive line's blown out of its ass. It's knackered, and you're running a 35-yard pass, going no huddle and running dive, and being like, God, these guys are getting no purchase in their blocks. They're exhausted, James. That's it. Again, I'm not saying can't coach it. I'm not saying take the no huddle out. It really worked because your boy Herndon and Chenault had a monster day despite his post-match gurning match with you. But you don't need to no huddle for the entire game. It's actually detrimental. Your guys are knackered by the end of it. And for the Raiders, my 3-word game is time runs out. They beat the Jets 14-10, and the game ended about 10 yards outside the Raiders' red zone with a sack of Tua Tagovailoa. Turns out he's left-handed. At one point in the first quarter, Derek Carr's stat line was 1 for 7, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble lost, and no points. And in the middle of that drive, Nick's coming out with a fullback, 2 tight ends, and running the ball. And I loved every second of it. You're down 10-0. Yeah, you're down 10-0, and it's like, oh God, we're almost into the second quarter. We've got no points. We haven't escaped our own 30-yard line. What's the play call? We're running the fucking ISO. We're playing 4-4-2, and that's the way my dad did it, and that's the way we're always going to do it. And it worked.
You just know where your ballers live. You know what I mean? I know that no matter the score, I can I can put in like a Saquon Barkley zone play, and I'm confident it's going to pick up 5+ yards. And Nick is confident too, because that's what happens when you're confident in your mans and you know how to use your run game.
It's definitely a confidence thing, though, because he's like 2nd and 12, and he comes out with halfback base, and he's like, well, what are we doing this for, coach? And he's like, well, because it's Josh Jacobs, and we're really good at the run. I don't care that we're behind the sticks. We're not going to be in a minute. And Jacobs turned the game.
Off that, and then you've got 3rd and 3.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than let's go 5 wide and throw a pass, and Derek Carr's obviously playing like shit. You said that you don't have any errant throws. Derek Carr fucking murdered him in the first half of that game. Every pass was errant, even the complete ones. I felt so bad for Nick, because it wasn't like he was throwing on the run or off the back foot. He set up a max protect, a bunch of tight ends, and Derek Carr just couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat for the whole first half of that game. It wasn't much better in the second half, but they survived it. It was a big win, big gutsy win.
Derek Carr loves making Nick sweat.
Team of the week time. So again, there'll be no Giants and no Texans in this. Both teams were on a bye. So my team of the week for week 10 is Pat Mahomes, Alvin Kamara, Matt Breida, Kendrick Bourne, Laviska Shenault. Yes, that's right. He was complaining he didn't get enough touches, and he was wide receiver too. Trey Burton, Philip Dorsett, which might be a bit of an awkward one because Allen Robinson was the one that did the damage. But if you watch that first half where the Raiders couldn't move the ball for dick, the only one that was catching passes was Philip Dorsett. Really helped them along the way. And a completely CPU defense for the first time. D Ford, CJ Mosley, who forced a fumble, took it home, and picked off Derek Carr. And Trey Herndon, who did his best to keep the Washington Redskins, or football team, in that game for as long as physically possible by picking off Dak Prescott. But, I mean, he was the only guy that was actually playing in that game that wasn't the kicker. So, power rankings haven't changed a great deal from last week, but there is a new team on there. So, number 10, my new team on the list this week is the Arizona Cardinals. Again, week 11's hierarchy, they're probably not on it. It's just, they are in the 10th spot. It's really hard to call right now. I don't really know what Stoops I'm getting. If I get the good Stoops, he's good enough to beat Adam. If I get the other Stoops, he's scoring 6 points and going home. Cardinals in 10th spot, 9th spot Steelers, 8th spot Raiders, 7th spot Bucks, 6th spot Bears, 5th spot Rams, 4th spot Broncos, 3rd spot Saints, 2nd spot Texans, 1st spot the New York Football Giants. And I promise it's not just because Zach's on. He's been on since week 7 now.
Yeah, I believe that is that's the 4th week in a row, and I don't intend on letting it go.
I'm looking at your schedule. I don't really know where it's going to go. if it ever does.
The big showdown, like, and I'm not looking past Niall, but like at all. But the big showdown for the number 1 spot on the Not the Herd Power rankings is like week 15.
Week 15. Yeah, it is. Yep.
The Texans. Like that's the biggest opportunity. That seems like the key standout moment. And now, obviously, again, you know, teams don't go 16-0, really. You know,
no, not right now.
Adam's got a loss, John's got a loss and a tie, and I would not consider myself to be better players than either of those two. And so there is likely an L somewhere on that schedule. And it doesn't necessarily have to be John. It doesn't necessily have to be Niall. I could just get.
I was going to say it doesn't necessarily have to be a user team. There are tricky games there.
At some point, yeah, you know, I still lose in my practice franchises, so you know it happens.
I'm trying to think outside of John.
That's the game. That's the game that I've had a pin in for a little while, and that's, again, I don't want to discount Niall, but this was when I looked at my 16 game schedule in week 1 and was like, that's the game I want to play and prove myself.
Yeah.
Because I was confident of what was coming up. I knew that I knew what my season was going to. Maybe didn't dare to dream it would be as good as it was, or as good as it is. But I knew my season was going to be good, and that for me was like I could really put a feather in my cap on that game.
For me, the pressure, right? 2 things. One, if John isn't the guy that beats you, the only other 2 teams I think that can do it are the Titans or Niall, the Bears, because they're coming off your bye. It's been a while since you played. I don't know.
It hasn't, because I play Madden all the time. But
see, put the work in, keep it fresh. The pressure is all on John in that game, and I don't want to put pressure on him, but it's there because if he Zach can lose that game on the scoreboard like Nick did. Nick lost 21-26 to James Cameron in week 4. Zach can lose that by 3-4 points and be like, right, I know I belong, I can hang, bring on the postseason. If John loses that game, he's in real trouble because it basically hands...
Imagine the video we'll get then.
It basically hands James Cameron the 1 seed. The AFC has to go through Mile High, which is a big deal because Mile High, and I said this a couple of podcasts ago, John needs the 1 seed. If James Cameron is the 1 seed, he's at Mile High. Mile High helps the shit team out of the 2 teams, right? So I'm not saying that James Cameron is shit, but I'm saying John's better. So if John has to go to Mile High, James knows he can kick 60-yard field goals to stay in the contest. The worst team benefits there. So John would much rather have him at an even playing field and force him to score 7 instead of 3 repeatedly. He can't. If he loses that, he's a game and a half behind. I don't really know. I mean, James Cameron plays the whirling dervish Cardinals this week, but I don't really know where James Cameron's losing a game or 2. So the pressure is all on John, who's called out for. He shook off his. I don't care about my tie. I don't care the loss of the Skins. Blah 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 blah. I want player teams, and he's 1-0 in player teams this year, and he's 2-0 in the last 2 years because he doesn't get to play players in the regular season because the schedule hates him.
John walks into every game, every single game he plays in this league as favourite.
He's the favourite, yes.
That's just how it is. Man is good at the game. You know what I mean? He's great at the game. His controller speed is phenomenal. His reading of the plays he knows is great. He also has a great run game. And if you look at the, I think it was either to be fair, both the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl last season, he leaned quite hard on his running game because you have to respect his passing game so much that you his running game was able to get him 7 yards per carry or something like that. So you can't just go out there and be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to play John, because he'll absolutely wreck your shit. And he also cannot, you can't count him out of any situation. You're like, okay, I'm 3 scores up and I'm moving into the 4th quarter. Well, he could easily score in 3 plays, and then you get a 3 and out and he scores again, and you're like, oh, balls, I'm dying.
He's a different animal to play against. You can't, if you play against Stoops, no disrespect to Stoops, and you give him the ball back in the first half, there's about, 47 seconds to go to the half. If he has no timeouts, he is not scoring. He's in real trouble. Even if he has 3 timeouts, it'll be tough to move it into field goal range. If I give John the ball back with 20 seconds in the half, I know he has a chance of scoring. I don't care about his timeouts or field position. The guy can flip it. And you have to have that in the back of your mind. And it plays havoc. You've seen it with James Earls when he played Adam, and he didn't score that touchdown because he didn't want to give him the ball back.
Yeah, I mean, it gets in your head, right? It's like playing the Patriots. If you give him, it's like playing, well, not now, but it's like
or for a long time.
Yeah, it's like playing the Patriots. I mean, I remember I've watched the Patriots play my team in a Super Bowl twice. Now, I happened to win those ones. However, I remember both of those games. I'm like, well, here's Tom Brady driving down the field with in the 4th quarter, this is where he makes his money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just being all the way to the very end, especially the 2010 Bowl, 11, whichever you prefer, especially that season where he just lobs it into the end zone and Gronk nearly got it. And I was like, oh my God.
Gronk and Hernandez had a weird sort of half fumble grabby attempt at it, right to the death.
Gronk was hurt, I think, at that point. And I think if he wasn't hurt, there's a good chance he makes that grab. You know what I mean? And literally to the death. You're like, fucking hell! It's so stressful. And I've never played John, but I imagine that's what it's going to be like.
It's a great analogy, 100%.
I'm not going to unclench my butt cheeks until that game is done, or if he jumps out to a massive lead, then I can relax because I'm not going to catch him. You can't let him. If you let him get 3 scores up, the game's over, and just
when he's up by 17, you're toast. Just
the
forget
game's
it.
Over, yeah.
Get him the next time.
You need to go blow for blow with him, otherwise it's dead. But I still have I have another game before that, and I didn't really realize it until you pointed it out. But obviously, Giants v Bears for me is the key game because winning that one,
Yes, it's more important to you, certainly.
yeah, it's more important for seeding purposes.
Yeah.
And so I've got the Titans this week, and then I've got the Bears next week. And, I've played the Bears before, and, it was my first ever win in CFM, and I beat the Bears with 2 plays, exactly 2. Well, actually, tell a lie, I also ran stick and nod vertical.
So 3.
Outside zone, PAFL stretch, and stick and nod vertical, and I think Saquon Barkley had like 150 yards, and Evan Engram had like 3 touchdowns, and it was Mike Gesicki's first game, and he scored like absolutely mossed a receiver on like third and 12 or something to allow me to score the winning points. But like we haven't played since then, and I'm not the same team.
Yeah, the Giants team's different, and so is the Bears team.
Yeah, exactly, and
Plus, there's the Herbert thing. I mean, Adam's going to have an absolute fit in the build-up to that game.
It's such a that's as much it's as much Niall v Zach as it is Trubisky v Herbert.
Yeah, and
probably
again,
more Trubisky v Herbert than it is Niall v Zach.
I was going to say Zach needs to win it more than Niall does, but Trubisky massively needs to win it more than Herbert does. So it makes it hella interesting.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, user games are what you play it for. I was excited to play James Earls again because I played him week 1, and then I had 7 CPU games in a row, and then I was like, I'm like John was. You're like, I'm here to play the PvP games. They're the ones that you're sort of really zoned in on, the ones you're really excited for, and yeah, I mean, it didn't disappoint. I thought the
game was fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. You have a chance, by the way. If James Cameron beats Stoops, he will tie with you and Gerald's for 5 player wins in the last 2 years. You have a chance to break that tie against now. Just and I mean, record chasing.
If Tom Brady makes his money in the 4th quarter, thus far I have made my money in PvP games. Like
100%.
My PvP record is significantly better than well, it's probably not, but at this point. But my PvP record, I think if I go to this, I'll be like 6-3 in PvP games.
You will indeed.
And last year, 2 of those were absolute blowout losses to James Earls, which I have now avenged. So I can let those ones go.
The 2 of the losses were blowouts in a rookie season. The wins are against the impressive opposition.
Yeah,
I think John is the main scalp you haven't taken because you've beaten Niall and you've beaten Adam already.
Yeah, I mean, I've yet to play. Well, I mean, I haven't beaten James Cameron yet, and we actually played a really fascinating head-to-head the other day where we played online Giants v Broncos, and he absolutely rinsed my shit because the Giants are terrible. And then we played Bucks v Bills, and I rinsed his shit, and he gave us absolutely no insight into who's a better player. So I'd really, I would.
If only there was a point this season where you and James Cameron could meet with something on the line to determine who would the better player be. Anyway,
that would be
James could get to the Super Bowl.
I mean, that'd be a fascinating bowl.
Oh God, yeah.
I think as well, like it's natural to expect that the bowl's going to be Adam versus John because those are the de facto best players in the league, and if it came down to who is the best at the game, then it would be Niall and not Niall and John. It would be Adam and John because they're the best.
Well, we've seen how we get Niall and John.
I was just about to say it. The Super Bowl is not who's the best in the game. It definitely can't be. We have seen bowls where the best 2 teams did not play. Otherwise, you'd have had John and Adam playing for the last 5 years.
Well, that's it, exactly.
Let's see who you would have had if it was the best players. You would have had John and Adam. You would have had.
Where are we? I have it all here. Last year would have been John and Adam. The year before would have been probably John and Adam. Year before that should have been. I mean, if you're talking about who the best players, probably me and Adam. The year before that, you
me
and Adam
versus CPU.
Oh, there was no Adam. It would have been you. It should have been you versus CPU. God, says a lot that the CPU is what he cost. Was the best NFC team in 2019.
John was in the NFC.
It was his rookie season. It was both their rookie seasons.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's basically not how it works. Like, last season should have been locked on John v Niall, and it was literally seconds away from being James v Adam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, both games were close.
It's very realistic as well, because we've never had Drew Brees, Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, or Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady.
Yeah, because that's what happens, right?
That's realistically, if you look back over the last 10 seasons of the NFL, how we never had Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Is this sort of the same as
Tom Brady, Eli Manning twice?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Trent Dilfer's won a ball.
Basically, I mean, it's frightening how little we had Brady Manning even in the AFC title game. Things like that, or Rodgers Brees.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a fascinating, it is a fascinating season, and it's only going to ramp up now as the PvP games start to come in thick and fast. Because I think we had a sort of drought across weeks 2 to 7, where there was just the odd one. But now they're going to start coming in, and
they're the only week. The only week we don't have a PvP game the rest of the season is week 17. And even though they're CPU games, there's still a lot to count on, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be a nice break having none in week 17 before we have now that we've got a lot more people in the league, it's pretty much exclusively PvP through the playoffs.
Right, Blazing 5. That's my last segment I got to squeeze in here. So, 5 games, Zach. You can make a call on all of them. Your Tennessee game is not included. So I'll give you the not Vegas line, who I'm picking, and then I need both you guys to tell me who you're picking and by how much. So we got Saints at Falcons. As Zach said, we're down into the final third almost of the year. So I'm going to stop betting teams by 2 or 3. I know who the better teams in this league are, and the not Vegas stat line suggests this. Saints at Falcons. I'm taking Saints by 16, and I'm taking the Saints.
Saints Falcons, I'm taking Saints by 14.
Saints Falcons, I am taking Saints by 21. They've been absolutely on a tear, and the Falcons aren't going to do anything to stop that.
So Bears at Vikings. Niall has only ever lost to the Vikings whenever they're controlled by a user. He's undefeated against them, as everybody is, except the Cardinals. Whenever they're CPU, the not Vegas, they're literally 1-15 against all of us. I take the Bears by 9. Is the not Vegas line on that? It clearly Bears by a score plus. Yep. It's just margin of victory, really, because no one's going to take the Vikings.
I'm going to go Bears by 17.
And I am going to take the same. Bears by 17. I was going to say the same.
So Dallas versus Indianapolis. The Vegas line's a wee bit of a stretch in this one. Indy's a tough team to play, and they've got a tie against John. Even though they've lost the other player games, they've played them all really close. I'm going to take Cowboys by 10. A healthy enough margin. I like the Cowboys. I like them getting Cooper back in the lineup this week properly from the off.
I'm going to take Cowboys by 14.
Oh my god, Don takes the Cowboys again.
And I'm going to take the Cowboys by 8. This is no harm on James Earls, but he has been he's been relatively low scoring in recent weeks, and the Colts have a difficult to stop offense. They complete a lot of passes, and they're great in short yardage. They're great against pressure. I feel like it'll be a low scoring affair.
The Cowboys have not scored more than 27 all season, and that 27 was in a losing effort against the Giants. I would like to see the Cowboys score over 30 points. I do get on Chicago's case enough for not scoring enough points consistently. I would like to see that. Yeah, I would like to see this multifaceted, powerful Dallas offense actually put it together for more than a quarter at a time. Texans at Jags. I'm gonna keep this close. Short and sweet rather. Texans by 22. They're gonna muller the Jags. He needs to keep his divisional record up.
I'm gonna put a bit of a challenge down for John. Texans by 35. Go and smack them about, son. Go on. Nobody likes them, right? They're just Fulham. Go and fuck them up.
And because I'm beginning to now ramp up the toxicity, I'm going to say the Texans are fucking shite, and I'm going to say Texans by 10.
I genuinely thought Zach was going to go Jags.
Jags. by
By
the way, you're talking about CFM
Zach
scheduling.
wants to be toxic, but he doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to be wrong.
John is in Jacksonville. Last week he was on a bye. The week before he hosted Jacksonville. For the record, that was 35-13. So Texans by 10, I love. Right, last one. You're going to have to pick against somebody. It's the Cardinals at the Broncos. The Not Vegas stat line is going to keep this relatively close. I don't think either one team's going to run away with it. James is certain areas where he's suspect. Stoops is a fucking loose cannon. It might go off at any time. The line is Broncos by 7 because it's at Mile High, but I don't even feel totally confident about that.
Broncos by 10 is my prediction.
For me, Stoops is the... like this is going to come across like it's an insult, and it's really not, because that's my boy. Stoops is the CFM's Mitch Trubisky, and here's what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
I can see how that comes across as an insult.
Exactly. Yeah. Mitch Trubisky in low pressure situations is wank. He's fucking rubbish. Like when he has like nothing to play for, or when he's holding a lead. Or when it's like early game and it's first points on the board, he's absolutely smooth brain idiot, and makes stupid decisions, freezes up after his first read. He's bad, is what I'm saying. And when the pressure is on and he stops using his idiot brain and starts just playing the game he understands, he's fucking unbelievable. Like fourth quarter Mitch Trubisky is like playoff Eli Manning. He's just suddenly good, and you're like, oh my god, where's this Mitch Trubisky? And that's why he's going to get a contract from the Bears, because they're just going to watch his fourth quarters. And Stoops is the same. So in CPU games, he tries to think about it too much and ends up making weird choices. And in PvP games where the pressure's on, he's like, I'm just going to play the video game because I'm fucking actually good at it. And so I am going to take Cardinals by 2.
I love that, because he's 2-2 all time, and he has 2 massive scalps in his locker. James Cameron, treat him lightly at your own peril. That's my segments done. I can run this for another 10 minutes or so. This is where we give Zach, the head coach of the Giants, the floor. Feel free to shoot on any coaches, be as toxic as you want to, John. And basically dole out praise as you feel it should be doled out. Away you go.
What can I say? Like this year has been really special so far. DFM and this podcast, by the way, shout out to Not the Herd. Has really added a special element and has made playing Madden 20, which is generally a boring as fuck experience, it's almost like playing Football Manager, but you get to play the games. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's what it makes it feel like a proper immersive RPG experience. And
it's like Football Manager, but the questions that you get after the match are not. You took Saquon Barkley off after scoring 2 goals when he was on a hat trick, and that raised some eyebrows.
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck off, storm off, send my assistant next time. So, do you know what I mean? Like, you get to come on and sound off a little bit, and it really has I've never played a sports game as much in my life, because normally I just play them on the easiest possible difficulty and put on a podcast, and play them to relax. So it's been a huge deal, and it's been a big part of this year. As far as the New York Giants are concerned,
the G-Man.
Right now we are the best team in the league. Like the actual 52 men on my roster are the best team in the league, and I don't feel an ounce of shame, and I don't feel like trepidatious to say that. I would hold any of my guys up against any other set of guys, and they deserve to be spoken of like that. Now, I'm not saying it's clear cut; it's not a whitewash. It's fucking tight up there, but I'm going to come out and say it. We have been unbelievable. We have, I've watched other player teams make absolute work of the Washington football team, a team that I put 50 on at one point. Like,
Yeah.
and
it's 33 the other, by the way. Like,
yeah, exactly. And the 33 game, I had basically stopped playing at halftime.
Yeah.
So, we've been the best team in the league, and my challenge out to other coaches. Actually, no, I'm going to hold that. I'm going to hold that for the end because that seems like a nice note for me to end on. I've watched a lot of games this year. I have to say, I've been really impressed with Adam, even more so than previous years. Feels like the level of competition in the league has spurred him to greater heights. He's never had a shutout before, and then he basically had like 2 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And like he's just lethal. Like, just always makes the right decisions. Listening to his like brain commentary is superb. As he just like reads the play, just like soul reads the defense and then rips their heart out, and you're like, gross. Yeah, that was insane. He lost Michael Thomas for a long stretch, and just turned out that Hasselwood, like Jalen Gill for like weeks 1 through 7 was like the absolute lock for offensive rookie in the year, and then here comes Hasselwood, like, fuck off, Jalen Gill, and I'm like, whoa, where'd that guy come from? Like, unbelievable. He's been fantastic, and I think there is more to come from Dr. Jazz and the Broncos. I actually feel like James holds himself back sometimes when he's playing because he wants to be a complete player. But
Yeah.
I know for a fact that he has the tools in his pocket to beat any team. He's got 2 spectacular running backs in Matt Breida and Travis Etienne. Matt Breida makes his first team of the week this week. Travis Etienne can go suck an egg, I guess, thus far. I would suggest that's probably the best running back room in the league. And I don't think it's particularly close. Like Barkley,
Yeah.
and his backups are like, Barkley is the best running back in the league, and his backups are good. But you could play Matt Breida or Travis Etienne, and basically they would both perform to an A+ level. So that's the best room in the league. Yeah, I think going forward, we've got lots of PvP games, and the league is actually going to take its shape, and we're going to really see. But I want to see everybody's best now. I want to see everybody come out, and I want to see them show everybody what they're made of. And I'm going to be playing Niall, and I'm going to be playing John. And I've talked about a lot about my game with John, and I want to take a second to think about Giants v Bears. Niall's defense has been great this year. The Bears defense has looked fantastic. I'm not cutting a promo or anything here. But like, I'm going to put him to the sword. And I love you, Niall, but I'm going to beat your cheeks off. I'm going to win that game because it's important for me to win. It's the most important game that I have on the rest of my schedule, and I'm going to win it. And then I can look forward to John, and it might ramp up. Like, this is probably about as toxic as I'm going to get, to be perfectly honest.
Lethal.
But we've talked a lot about the game. I don't need to say any more. But for the New York Giants, as I said, we're the best team in the league right now. And what I want to see going forward, and what I want to see in weeks, whatever, like we're in week 11 now, so weeks 11 through 17, is I want other teams to come and get me. Come and get me. Because if you don't, then I'll just take it away from you. Whatever you think you're going to do, if you don't come and get me, I'm going to cut your heads off every time we play. So
it does feel like a WWE promo because there's no more bye weeks, no more room for error.
Yeah, come and get it. I sit here and I think about this game a lot. I play it a lot, and so are you going to match my effort? No. So if you're not going to match my effort, then you're going to have to beat me on pure talent. So good luck.
John's like, I might be able to do that.
He might, yeah, but
Yeah.
shh.
Anyway, completely unrelated note. Next person we're having on the podcast is, let me just look that up, John. Yes, it's John. And I can't wait. Because it will get his preview of the game against... He's playing Nick in 2 weeks. Oh, spicy
Ooh,
meatball.
lovely.
Good chance to see what John's about PvP-wise as well before your game.
And Nick is... His biggest thing is he wants that PvP win, and he'll take it any way it comes.
I would not want to play Nick. Nick, by the way, plays John... And later in the season, he plays James Cameron, and he also plays Stoops. And Nick will not leave this season without a PvP win. He's going to scalp one of you, and I would not want to play him next. I really wouldn't. Daniel, anything else to tick?
No, I'm very excited for more PvP games coming next couple of weeks. And
well, now the podcast is done, we can. I mean, guys are free to play games, I guess, as soon as this ends.
Yeah.
Presumably.
If anybody's playing tonight, let us know. That'd be great.
I'll fill the schedule up because there's a full.
Please do, actually. If you can play tonight,
there's a full 8 games now.
I'd love that. But yeah, we've got this week. We've got NFL playoffs on Sunday. Playoff pictures are going a bit more from like, okay, Zach's in, James Cameron's in, guys with like 8-9 wins and stuff. To actually seeing where seeding wise guys are going to be is going to become a lot clearer over the next couple of weeks, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, just
especially
love
that
the business
pesky
end of the season.
That NFC 1 seed.
Love the business end of the season. Love getting into playoff time. I just think it's going to be a lot better. I'm very excited.
What has me the most excited is we're now into that. Daniel calls it the Thanksgiving period, where we're about 1 or 2 game weeks away from being like the room for error is gone. You're probably allowed, like Zach's already touched on, as long as he doesn't lose denial, he is really allowed, as most people are, 1 loss between now and the end of the season. But once you use that up, like that's it. There's nowhere to hide now. This is the bit where we find out who gets seeded where. Divisions will be won. No divisions have been won yet, despite the precarious standing of the NFC East. No divisions have been won. I don't think any can be won this week. I'm generally on top of that. Got a little bit knocked off over the Christmas period. No, Zach still needs another 3 wins, maybe 3-4 wins. The others are all bloody precarious. The West is separated by divisional record. Adam is 1.5 games clear of the Bucks. Again, everybody's assuming James Cameron's going to just walk the West. I think he gets the 1 seed, but Nick's a game behind him. And there is still nobody with a winning record in the AFC East. Fucking hell. 2 4-5 teams, a 3-6 team, and a 2-7 team. Somebody get the man some help. But yeah, I am excited. Yes, I'm going to throw schedule in the group now. Please, if you're playing tonight, let me know. If you're not, that's fine. But just let us know when you are playing, so as we can produce lovely podcast goodness around it as well. So thanks for coming on, Zach. We were looking forward to having you on, and for good reason. It has been fully repaid. And next up, John, Daniel, and I'll be shooting you a message at some point soon. You're on next. Again, I don't know when that'll be. If teams start playing tonight. Adam, did you sim today?
It is
probably
simmed, yeah, we're simmed.
Next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at some point. We'll be live with John, which will be an experience. For anybody who doesn't think he's going to be toxic. Right. I am literally just going to mute my mic because I got to go downstairs and turn it off. But if everybody wants to leave the party, we'll do the slow close to the episode. Thanks for being on, guys. I'll be up and see you in a minute.
Guys.
See you, Zach.
Bye.